Welcome to Our Scars Speak. My name is Christina Miner. I'm the host of this podcast. And before we begin, we want to give a disclaimer that you are listening at your own discretion. We are not being held liable for anything that you hear tonight. And also, we encourage each and every one of you to stick to your treatment plan with your medical and mental health professionals and all professionals that you have as you're going through treatment or even just through survivorship. So without further ado, tonight, I would love to welcome my guest, Keith Ancrum. I am so excited. His wife is a mentor of mine since I've come into this breast cancer community. And he has also been a great mentor along with her. Like, they have such a wealth of knowledge and information and just good people. And I met him at church, and we've just become connected ever since. But thank you so much for coming on and for being able to share your story tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So before we start into your story and how everything has evolved with being a caregiver, I would like to start with, who's Keith? Just let the audience know, how do you describe yourself?
Keith is a man of God, a father, a stepfather, a husband, a hardworking individual. Low key, I stay to myself quite often. But once I get to know you, I open up and you see all of Keith. In a nutshell, that's me.
Okay. All right. So you have a very interesting story with individuals in your life who've gone through various cancer experiences before, but I like to kind of get to know you far as before any of that happened, maybe even because I think y'all met in the military. I'm gonna let you tell your story, but before you met your wife, how was life like before the military? Because you have a very powerful military journey as well. So what was life like for you before you even joined and met your wife and all that good stuff?
Life was different. I came up in a single parent home.
Okay.
I never knew my father, so my mother played the role of both father and mother. My mother was an educator, so education was stressed heavily in our household. Yeah. After that, high school, we weren't in a position for me to go to college.
Okay.
That's just the nature of it. So I decided I would join the military. And once I joined the military, I never looked back. That's where I met my wife. That's where my career, I spent more time in the military than anything else. And that's what brought me to Virginia and destination and how we got to meet. And
Right.
that's where I'm the man today.
Right. So if you like to share some things about your mom, because I know she's a big part of course, your story and your journey in life.
Again, my mom was a single parent,
Mhm.
educated. She stressed education. Now, one thing unique about my mom, she wasn't an affectionate person.
Okay.
She didn't believe in hugs and outward appearances of affection, but deep down in my heart, I knew she loved me, and
Right.
she always wanted the best for me. She was my mother and my father,
Right.
and about in 2009, I came home from the military to visit her,
Mhm.
and she had a cough. So I was like, "Ma, you okay?" She was like, "Yeah, I'm fine." She had a doctor's appointment. So I decided, hey, I'll take you to the doctor. And the doctor did an x-ray, and he told my mom she could wait outside. And then he said, "I'm sorry to tell you, your mom has lung cancer."
Mm.
Uh,
Wow.
that was a hard blow because me and my mom were very close.
Mhm.
When I was in the military, when I initially joined the military, I was young, living my life. But as I grew and I matured, I really realized how I had a gift. My mom
Right.
was my gift, and every week I would call her. Every week on end, Mom. Even on my birthday, because my mom wasn't a vocal person, so
Mhm.
I would call and say, "Hey, Mom, I'm just calling you so you could tell me happy birthday," you know, and things of that nature. So, and from that point on, our relationship we've always had a great relationship, but that just brought us closer, you know. And like I said, in 2009, when they told me she had cancer, and then after the cancer was diagnosed, they told me my mom was going to pass. So
Wow.
yeah, so you have to wrap your head around that.
Right.
Me being in the military, not being there with her. So every time I would come see my mom, I wondered, is this going to be the last time?
Mm-hmm.
So it was very hard. And I think the hardest thing through that whole journey is me having to clean my mom,
Mm.
you know. But through the grace of God, and actually, the time I had to do that, Tanja was there to help me. So that was, you know, it was big. It was hard because her
Right.
pride, she didn't want her son
Mm-hmm.
to see her in that way, and her son didn't want to see her in that way. So
Right.
yeah, the Lord called her home in 2009, and then yeah, that's the gist of, you know, my
Right.
life.
So 2009, she was diagnosed and she transitioned to heaven. I love to say transition to heaven because to me they just go from
Right.
here to our Father. But so she passed in 2009 as well. So that was rather quick.
Right.
Rather quick. So if you don't mind me asking, how many months in between from the time of diagnosis?
November of 08
Okay.
is when she was diagnosed. In August 2009, she passed.
Okay. And then you did say something that two things you said that struck me. The first thing is the military. And a lot of people don't understand military life because they may have not have been a part of it. And it can be very difficult, especially in 2009. What was your rank at the time?
I was a master sergeant.
Okay. So we all know after kind of like, I mean, it's hard anyway, but after sergeant, you kind of get into a little whole nother realm of the military. So with you being in that position, and so you did care for your mother also to a degree, from what standpoint, how far were you from her during her time that she had after her diagnosis?
I was living in Tallahassee, Florida. My mom was in Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Okay.
When she was initially diagnosed, after they told us it was terminal,
Mm-hmm.
they wanted to move her to hospice. My mom fought and said, Keith, I don't want this. And so, okay, I said, Mom, if you don't want this, we don't want this. And
Okay.
but there were some stipulations for her to come out of hospice. She had to be able to have a bowel movement and things of
Mm-hmm.
that nature. And once that occurred, my mom's siblings, my mom knew she was going to pass, and she wanted to uh, go be with the Lord. Where she grew up was in South Carolina. So her
Okay.
siblings were able to get her to South Carolina, and her youngest sister more or less became her caregiver more than me because I was in Tallahassee and she was in South Carolina. So I don't want to say every week, but pretty much once a month or even sometimes more, I would drive to South Carolina to check on my mom. You know,
Wow. Yeah,
so
because that's the part that a lot of people don't understand. A lot of times we're in different states or
right,
countries, and
right,
that makes it the dynamic very difficult when you have loved ones in another state or another country and you're trying to see them, especially when things like this happen and you want to be there. The
right.
other thing that I commend you for, it almost made me cry, and hopefully I don't, but I'll be crying all the time. But anyway, I remember when I was diagnosed, and I remember we were sitting at all the table and my son was at the table. And we were talking about, I was like, I'm not gonna be able to use my arms that well and things like that. And I'll never forget, my son was like, I don't have a problem taking care of you, even if I have to wipe your butt or even if I have to wash you, I don't care. And I was so shocked. So to hear that you had to do that, because that is hard for a male child to want, to see it's hard for us as a mom.
Right,
When he said it, I was like, what? I was like, oh, no, thank you, but I might be okay. But to hear him say it, it really blessed my heart. But I knew it
right,
had to be hard for him to even say it. And because I know how hard it was for me to even hear it. And
right.
so when you said you did that, I commend you. I I commend you so much, because that had to have been very difficult.
Very much so, very much so.
Yeah.
Because my mom was a proud person, you know, most
Mhm.
of us are. And to have her son to do that was hard for both, like you said, for both of us.
Mhm.
But
Wow.
you know, in times of I'll call it adversity or tough times, God gives us the strength to
Mm.
press on. So
Yep, he definitely does. And I know you're a man of faith, you and Tanja, which Tanja, for those who haven't heard her story, she came on the earlier part of our Scar Speak getting started last year, and she told her story because she's a 3-time breast cancer survivor. And I'll let you, of course, share more about that from your perspective. So yes, so I know you all's closeness to God and your intimacy with God and how it's gotten you through all of everything that you all have gone through. So if you could tell us a little bit about how you met your wife.
I was in a military school, and a friend of mine, we decided to go to a karaoke night. And I mean,
Okay.
this is a wild story. And we were watching the play establishment had TV, so we were watching football games because we weren't allowed on the other side because of the capacity of people. So I saw my wife walk in. I wasn't paying attention to her. I was sitting with my back to the bar, and I heard my wife ordering something to drink,
Mhm.
right? And, and just so happened, my wife didn't have enough money. So I said, how could somebody come to a place and can't afford their habits? I told my buddy that. And I was like, wow, she's broke. You know, I mean, I was just me being me. And
Uh-huh.
I don't know if she asked me for 50 cents. And that's how she got all of this out of me. You know, no, I'm not going to support your habit. If you're going to drink, you need to support your habit. And she
Mhm.
told me, well, usually when I come out, I come out as a group, and my friends usually treat, you know, but they were on the other side also. So an older gentleman, he proceeded to try and talk to her. And I said, who's that? Is that Romy Rome? You know, from Martin, the
Yeah,
show
from
Martin.
Martin.
And she said no. And we started conversing, and I didn't give her 50 cents, but I bought her a drink.
Okay.
And you know, we were just conversing, just talking about everything under the sun. And my wife likes to dance, and I
Mhm.
like to dance. So that was a plus for her and a plus for me because we both like to dance. And we talked um, most of the night. And then I walked her to her car, and she gave me her business card. I was like, okay, you know. And because I didn't know she was in the military, I think she may have known I was in the military.
Okay.
And the rest is history. You know,
Wow. And now I can tease Tanja. Thank you for sharing
definitely.
that story.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna call her 50 Cent from now on.
Excuse
So, oh, that is hilarious. I never knew this story. And I know y'all like to dance because even last year when we went to the breast cancer event,
me.
we all
Right.
danced together. We had a good time. And hopefully
Right.
I'll be there again this year. So that is funny. So at that time, what year was that when you all met?
2002, I think.
Okay,
Yeah.
so 2002. All
Right.
right. So all right, so I'm assuming y'all were dating, having a good time. Now, 2002, had she been diagnosed? I can't remember from the book. Had she been diagnosed with breast cancer already before she met you?
She was the first
Oh,
time. The
yeah,
second time she was diagnosed, we were dating. That time wasn't, and I'm speaking from my perspective, it
right,
wasn't, it was hard for her. It really didn't hit me, you know, because Tanja kind of took it like a real champ. I'll say a G, you know. Um, she took it very well. So we really weren't impacted by it that much. She was, but she
okay,
didn't show it. The big impact came the third time when she was diagnosed. Because I recall she went to get the 3D mammogram,
hmm,
and she came back and she said, I think they may have saw some scar tissue from the previous. So I'm like, well, darling, we've been through this before. So, excuse me,
Mhm.
we'll be all right. And my wife and I worked in the same location in Michigan. We were living in Michigan at the time. And she came by my desk while I was working. It was like a little after lunch. And she said, Keith is back.
Mm.
And when I say, I said, Tanja, we beat it once, we'll beat it again.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where that journey started. This time, it was real hard. Mainly because there were times when Tanja would cry, and I didn't think my hugs were enough. You know.
Mm. Take your time. Take your time.
Yeah, so it was pretty hard that time.
Mm-hmm.
I recall when Tanja told we were doing a program for our nonprofit at church.
Mm-hmm.
And Tanja had some doctors and some nurses discussing breast cancer. And, she was her lively self that she is.
Right.
And she said somewhere in the program, she told them, hey, my cancer is back.
Mm. And
when I say it floored so many people, my cousin from out of town, my coworkers, nobody knew. Nobody knew but Tanja and I, and those people then. So after it came back this last time, Tanja and I were discussing it. Liana, the youngest, I think she was pregnant. Mm-hmm. And we decided we wouldn't tell them. Mm-hmm. We decided, not to put any stress on Liana or put any stress on her sister Dante, but we knew we were going to beat this.
Right.
That was our mindset. But I tell you, there were times where I was afraid. So, but we knew we were going to beat it. We would go to church, and when I say prayer changes things, Tanja would break down in church, and those ladies would gather around her and just pray over her stronger than I could pray for her. And one thing that comforted me during the whole time, we went to see, and please don't beat me up, I think it was the oncologist, and he was discussing everything that was going to happen.
Right.
And when Tanja was talking as if she was the doctor, she says, well, this is going to be done, this, therefore, she took control of the situation, it put me at ease,
right.
Since she had already been through it twice, the third time, but Tanja had the mindset, we're going to beat this, or regardless, whatever the outcome is, we trust you, God.
Right.
So we went through it. She had the surgery. To God be the glory. She beat it. And God is so good. The time when she had surgery, Tanja's sister came. My cousin came. Oh, they both came for a program. That program, and that's when it came out that Tanja had the cancer. So Tanja's sister ended up staying with me during the surgery. And when I tell you that helped a lot, because I think it was like 5 hours, because they removed it and then they did the plastic surgery, and we just talked about life. And the next thing you know, the doctor called me and said, Keith, everything went well. So I was ecstatic. Wow. I know I'm jumping all over the place.
No, you're fine. But,
yeah, that was it. Again, I think the biggest thing out of all of that is sometimes, like I said, I didn't know if my hugs were enough. I didn't know if I was going to lose my wife. And sometimes you take your loved ones for granted. Like since the second time, we thought we had defeated cancer. Cancer wasn't coming back. And but Tanja would always tell people, why not me? And I thought that was so powerful for her. And since she's gone through this battle, Tanja's flipped it 360 degrees, because she pours into, as you know, everybody.
Yeah.
She
Yep.
pours into everybody. You know, she's standing on the mountaintop preaching about, hey, you can beat this. You have a voice. You're not defeated. You're
Right.
not going to, unless the Lord says so. So, yeah, she gave me strength. We fed off of one another. When her days were low, I had to pull up and make my days high, you know. And another thing that was interesting was that going through, I really didn't have anybody to, you know, what's the word, express my emotions. I mean, I knew people in the church, but I didn't think about me. I thought it was all about my wife.
Right.
And then after the fact, when I had downtime, and I was like, man, I didn't have nobody to turn to, you know, because again, in that moment, it wasn't about Keith. It was about, you know, being there for Tanja through whatever circumstances came my way.
Yeah. And y'all stories, you know, was the reason why I was like, please come on, because because I asked my husband to come on. He's like, I don't even know what to say. I'm still processing. I'm like, Richard.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he really is. So when I, spoke with you all and just seeing your involvement, like with your organization and different things that you do, I was like, please, could you come on? Because I wanted to hear the perspective of a man who has been there for his wife, and the fact that y'all have gone through two definitely being married, and then she went through a breast cancer experience before she got married with you.
Right.
That, and then being in the military while she's going through this, and you being in the military, that's a lot. I mean, the military is a lot in itself. And then y'all are very high ranking in the military, and to go through all of that and still, raising your family and just that whole entire dynamic. I wanted people to know and to hear your voice, from the male perspective, from the husband perspective, and then also that, you're a man of faith. So when she got first diagnosed, of course, that was before you all were married. While you all were married, what years, do you remember the years of the second diagnosis and the third diagnosis?
The second one is vague. I really don't remember that one. I know I hadn't deployed yet, but the third one for sure was, I think, 2017.
Yeah, I know it's a little bit closer because I remember her telling me about it.
Right.
So it was definitely when I knew her. So
Well,
I had a feeling.
Right. You knew her because we had moved to Michigan. Right. Right.
Yep. Y'all had moved from here there, and
Right.
she had told me, and I was like, oh, and it just, my heart just like was crushed. But I knew she had God. I knew she had her family, and I just felt she was going to be okay. So with that being said, when you were in the second diagnosis, when you were because that was the first time you had been with her and y'all married and all that, how was that truly like? I know you said it wasn't as hard as the third time, but how is that giving that because your mother, was it before or after your mom?
It was before my mom. It was
okay. So it was before your mom.
Yeah, my mom.
That makes sense. Okay.
It was my mom was diagnosed in 2008 and passed in 2009.
Okay.
I think this is around 2003, 2004, somewhere around that time when Tanja had it the second time. Again, don't quote me.
No, I'm not. So that makes sense though, because you said the first time it wasn't as difficult, but that second time with you, which would have been her third, it was a little bit more harder. So my question for you, do you think it was even harder that second time because you had what you had gone through with your mother?
No. And that sounds kind of weird, but
no, it's not. That's your experience.
When my mom was a smoker.
Okay.
And so when she was diagnosed with lung cancer, when she was diagnosed, of course, well, let me back up. It was weird how I had the hardest part of the journey with my mom was I had to tell her she had cancer. Tanja and I went to Fort Lauderdale for Thanksgiving. And it was, I think, the day before Thanksgiving, and my mom and Tanja and I, and my aunt, we were all around the table dancing. And when I tell you, my heart was, it was about to explode, because my mom was just having a great time. And I told my mom, I said, Ma, I broke down. I started crying. And she was like, what's wrong? I'm like, Ma, you got cancer. And that just, and she just told me, she said, well, Keith, I'm not going anywhere till the Lord says so. You know, you know, sometimes you don't want to hear that. I mean, it's the truth.
No, you're telling the truth.
You don't want to hear that. You know, you want mom to pull through. You want whoever that significant person is to pull through. But, you know, and to be the one for the son to have to tell the mother, Mom, there's a chance I'm gonna lose you, was, it was, but you know, it was painful, but it strengthened me in a little way.
Right.
Nothing, I can't relate because I've never had cancer, but nothing prepares you for that, I don't think.
Right.
Nothing. I don't even think that, because Tanja has gone through it. Now you have the right mindset, you know, but nothing can prepare you for that.
Right.
You know? So again, God was definitely, he took the lead.
Right.
Because again, when I didn't know what to do, you know, I spoke with him quite often, you know, between holding Tanja and not knowing what words to say, you know. So I don't think it really prepared me, but I got through it.
Right. So you just said something that is so true, and a lot of people don't want to say that, but it is the truth. Sometimes when you're going through certain things you don't want to hear, and it's not to say that you don't love God. It's not to say that you don't have faith. It's to say that you're human and you have emotion.
You're processing.
You're processing it. You have emotion, whether you're going through it as a person or whether you are a caregiver. So I'm thankful that you are sharing this information with the caregivers to let them know, hey, look, you can have all the faith in the world. You can believe in whatever you believe in. You can have faith in that thing that you believe in or that person.
Right.
There are times where it's not even a question. It's just like, I don't want to hear that right now. I don't want to hear. And I used to tell my friends all the time, right now, I can't even pray for myself other than God help me. So I need for you to intercede for me.
Right.
And those are real times. And for you as a son, that's your mama. Like I always tell people, that umbilical cord does some things, like that connection in the womb is powerful. So with your wife, with Tanja, I remember, if you don't mind me sharing, something that you said to me at the last event when we walked.
Oh yeah.
Is it okay? Okay. So I remember we were all looking at Tanja because she was one of the faces of hope last year for DC 2023. And so I came up there to support her and another friend of ours named Shirley. And we were looking at them up on stage, and it was you made me cry. And I'm about to cry now, but you said it hit me. You were like, it's never hit me before. And it was such a real moment, and you shook me because I was like, oh shucks, like I didn't even know what was, nothing to say, but I was just like, wow, that was so interesting to know that all you've been through, not to say it hasn't hit you before, but in that moment, something about that moment hit you. Do you want to share? You don't have to, but
no, I can.
Okay.
I have to think about that moment. You know, with this journey with Tanja, I've been to so many, I'll call them breast cancer celebrations.
Yeah.
You know, I've been her right hand through, you know, through all of them. But it was something different about this one. You know, I think I told you, just to see these ladies that have been diagnosed, some still had it. They were fighting, they were celebrating. And again, something just hit me. I was like, wow. And it popped in my, you know, I could have lost my wife.
Yeah.
But God, you wasn't finished, you know. I almost cried that day, because I think the biggest thing was watching these ladies celebrate like no other. They were, well, you were there, you saw
Yeah.
it. They were partying like everything, and it just hit me, man. I could have lost my wife,
Yeah. And then
and I
on
was
top of it,
grateful.
yeah, on
I'm
top of
sorry.
it, it was raining that day.
Right.
And it was like this perseverance that no matter what, we're going to be here in the rain in DC, the capital of the United States, we're going to walk and we're going to celebrate this moment of being here and also
Right.
celebrate the ones who have transitioned, because it
Right.
doesn't mean that they lost their fight. It just means they had to go somewhere else.
Right.
And
Right.
their story still remains, and
Yes,
so
ma'am.
those celebrations, those events are so important, I think, for a lot of us. And some people are like, oh, so much pink and pink washing. It is all that, but guess what? We're still going to celebrate because we're here.
Right. Right.
And when you said it in that moment, I had thought of it from, what does a caregiver, because I know my sister went through an experience with getting a transplant and near death experience. And I was her caregiver, and that tore me to pieces. But also as a husband, I wondered, wow, when you said that, it just hit my heart, like, my God, what was it like for you as a husband to experience that? And when you said that, I'm like, wow, he went through just as much. She went through her battle, but you went through your battle. And my whole thing is our mental and physical scars speak. So for you as a husband, mentally, I know you had your faith, but mentally, how is that for you? Would you say that you had some moments of depression or some moments of sadness, hopelessness, or
I
anger?
don't. I was never angry. By no
Okay.
means was I ever angry. God says we shouldn't have fear,
Hmm.
but I tell you, I had fear.
Absolutely.
I had fear I was going to lose my best friend. But when fear tried to attack me,
Hmm.
that's when I prayed. I prayed even more then, and I knew through this journey I couldn't let Tanja see me broken,
Mm.
because I had to be Tanja's motivate, part of her motivation uh, to fight, to beat cancer.
Hmm.
So, as bad as many days I wanted to cry, I think maybe I cried a couple days on the way home driving.
Hmm.
But when I got around my wife, it was okay.
Right.
It's all about you, and we're gonna live life. We tried to live life like she didn't have cancer
Hmm.
until it was time for the surgery. We just, again, many times she broke down in church, or she would break down in the middle of the night, and sometimes words, you don't have the right words, so you
Hmm.
just hold her as close as possible and just let her get it all out of her system, and just be there, because sometimes speaking is the wrong thing to do.
You can say that again.
just be in that moment, just be in that moment with them, and that's what I tried to do. you
Yep.
know
A lot of people, I tell them a lot of times, like, what can I do for that person? And I was like, sometimes all you can do is just be a presence in the room silently.
right.
Just sit there. And that's hard sometimes for us because we want to do something, especially when we're a giver. It's like, oh, we want to pray, we want to do something. Sometimes it's just best to pray in your head and be
Right.
quiet and sit over there in a corner, let them sit on their bed or whatever they're doing and let them have their space. And sometimes it's okay that not to be in the room with them, to be in the next room with them quietly, and if they need something, they'll call you. So I know you had your faith and you had your church family. Was there anything else that you did as a caregiver to maintain mentally, physically, any self-care, anything, any tips you can give caregivers that are out there listening tonight?
Of course, I had a Bible study group for one. I didn't reveal. I don't want to say our problems. I didn't reveal our journey.
Hmm.
My Bible study was in the gym. And here's the third thing that some people may laugh. I played my video game. I called it my stress relief. So But yeah, those were the things. Like I said, when as Tanja was going through, we tried to just, we knew she had cancer. We just tried to live life. You know,
Right.
we didn't want to sit around. There were those moments where there were some lows, but we didn't want to sit around soaking, saying, "Hey, the end is coming tomorrow." Now we're gonna
Right.
live today, and we're gonna live tomorrow, and whatever God decides, it's gonna be what it's gonna be.
Right.
You know, so
Is there anything for military families? Because the second time she was in the military and you were in the military, correct?
yes.
Okay. Was there anything, any type of support systems? Because I know we got family readiness and things like that. I know Army and Marines are a little different. So was there anything in the Army, like anything that you can think of or remember while you all were in the military that helped you? Because I'm sure there may be some people, because just because you're in the military, people think that can't get cancer, but you can, obviously, even be in active duty. So is there any tips for that?
I really can't give any tips on that. The one thing that Tanja was in Augusta, Georgia, and I was in Hinesville, Georgia.
Okay.
So I spent a lot of time commuting back, and it's kind of weird to say this, but Tanja was so knowledgeable about cancer from her first battle that
Hmm.
a lot of things she was, I know this. I mean, it wasn't being conceited, but
Right.
she and this is what I've learned this from her,
Hmm.
that after the first battle, while she was going through, she studied and she learned about, she told me how when she would eat food and how it would taste uh,
Hmm.
bland or something. And so anyway, because she was prepared from the first battle, it helped a lot. So I don't think
Okay.
Tom ever reached out to, any organizations and things of that nature. That I
Okay.
don't think she did that.
Okay. Um, and so now, y'all, thank you, Jesus, have gotten through with that. But at what point, because I know you all have an organization, would you like to speak about the organization and kind of like how that was birthed and how the vision that God gave you and what year that started and
Ooh,
why?
you're gonna get me in trouble again.
Oh no, you're
Well,
in trouble.
after the third bout with cancer, I think Tanja was taking classes,
Okay.
and one day she came back from class. She said, "Hey Keith, I want to start a nonprofit in memory of your mom."
Mm.
So I'm like, okay, go ahead, you know. And I don't, and the nonprofit is EAESSI,
Mhm.
and I'll tell you what that means in a second. But again, Tanja was taking classes, and she decided let's do something. Primarily the focus about the EAESSI was to help women offset costs for mammograms.
Mhm.
And then to piggyback with that, we were giving scholarships away to, at the time it was minorities, but then we changed it. We opened it up to anyone. If
Okay.
you could write an essay and you had a letter of acceptance, you met the criteria to
Okay.
apply for the scholarship. So yeah, EC, that was, I'll say it like this, that was Tanja's baby, because she took the initiative, because I didn't think about that. She
Right.
took classes, and I think it was a way of Tanja giving back even more from her battle.
Hmm. And you all, because I remember going to Tanja while we were at church, and I was telling her that, I said, I really, because it was almost 20 years before I got even diagnosed. And I was telling her my story up to that point. I remember she made me go to this one event with Dr. Love. God bless her soul, she's passed on. And she was just like, if they don't give you a mammogram, then come back and see me, and our organization will help you. And so that's how I knew about
Right,
the organization, because she was a really big advocate who helped me to learn how to advocate for myself on that level
right,
of cancer. And
right.
so Yeah. And she was like, if the military don't do it, if this don't do it, or that don't do it, you come back and see me and I'll make sure I'll link you up with someone who can get you that mammogram.
Right.
And then she started teaching me about like, okay, if the mammogram, you've got dense tissue, then get an ultrasound. So she's been very, very informative to me, and your
Right.
organization has been. So could you tell us the name, the actual full name of the acronyms for
The actual, it's EACCI, EAESSI, Evelyn Ancrum Education Support System Incorporated.
Okay.
Again, Evelyn Ancrum Education Support System Incorporated. We help women offset costs for mammograms if, due to financial reasons. And we primarily focus on providing scholarships for kids, high school seniors. And we've given quite a few away, just through donations. The most we've ever given away is one for the maximum amount I'll say was $5,000. So
that's good.
Yes, through
That's
all
really
through
good.
donations. So
Wow. Okay, so before we get into your song, I definitely want to know, for men or spouses in general, what are some things that you want people to know, like far as support? Because like I heard you, even when you start, you're like, I didn't have that type of experience. You didn't have the experience of having a support system or knowing to go. Like we have all these breast cancer organizations now. Even when Tanja first had breast cancer, there wasn't that many support systems like they are now, but now it's a plethora for us. So for a man or a woman who's a spouse or caregiver, what, especially men primarily, I want to focus on that, because a lot of times, just like male breast cancer, men having breast cancer,
right,
is now becoming more, you're hearing more of it, and there's more support out there for them. But also, the reason why I specify men so much is because sometimes you all do hold things in a little bit more than we might hold we might
right.
hold things in. So do you know of any support systems or things that people could do? I know church is a big thing and we could get support there, but are there any uh other organizations or anything that you can think of that people may want to connect to?
I'm not familiar with organizations, but one thing for sure, I'm part of a men's group.
Okay.
We have church, but the church is not the building, it's the people.
Right.
So I'm part of a men's group, and one thing we as men have to learn to be is vulnerable. What's so good about my men's group now, that we're all broken. We're men of God, but we reveal to one another, hey, we have issues and we're here for one another.
Right.
And that's the big thing to know, that you're not standing alone in your journey. You may not be going through the same thing that I'm going through, but I'm here for you. Remember, I talked about just to be that listening ear. Word, you don't have to say a thing. Just be there to let me let it all out. Just be that listening ear. And like I said, my men's group is really, I look forward to that. I think that I didn't have it as intense as I have it now, my group, but I think that's critical to have that foundation of men, God-filled men. Not, you need that core, that base to help you go through whatever battle, cancer, diabetes, domestic, whatever the battle is. You need some men that you can be transparent and open with, because like you said, we tend to try and hold on to everything and hold the world on our shoulders, but our shoulders are not that strong. Now, more than one man can hold up the world. So,
right. Yeah, I think that's a big thing, especially like you stated, men's groups. I think now American Cancer Society and things like that have more connection with caregivers, and there's programs throughout. But you're right, finding people you can be transparent with that aren't going to judge you is so important. And so thank you for definitely sharing that. And also, before we get into your song, I would like to know, is there anything else that you like to say? And if you want to, feel free, and definitely any way that they can connect with you or your organization, feel free to share that as well. I'm also going to tag it within this, but feel free to share for those who listen.
What do I want to say? Thank you for the opportunity. when you asked me to do this, I didn't think I was. No, I don't think I was going to tell you no, but it was an honor. But I was also, a little, because I'm an introvert. So,
Yeah.
but when you ask me, it's like I can't tell her no. And plus,
Oh,
after I watched Tanja's interview, I said, "Yeah, I'll do it." What else she asked? EAESSI, if you'd like to reach out to me, you can reach out to me at EAESSI.org, or my email personally is Renard27. That's RHENARD 27 at Gmail. RHENARD 27 at Gmail. Again, I just thank you for giving me the opportunity to tell my story.
absolutely. And you have one to tell for sure. So you chose a song for your reel with your photos and everything. Can you give us the name of the song and the artist and tell us why you chose that song?
The song is called "Do It, Lord." Jacqueline Carr. I can't remember the gentleman that sings it with her,
Benjamin
but
Dude?
yeah, correct.
Yeah.
It's just something about that song, because nothing is too hard for God.
Mm-hmm.
And when we think we can't do it, He'll do it. So that's one of the songs I ride to. I have like a 45-minute commute in the morning, and when I have those mornings where I'm like, I have road rage. I don't, but that song just takes me, puts me in a good spirit, puts me in a good place, and I know there's nothing too hard for God. So I just have to trust Him and allow Him to do Him.
That's a good way to put it. Absolutely. That's good. And so what's one word that you can leave with the audience? Someone may be watching that has mental and physical scars that they haven't gotten, not to say we ever get over things, but they may not be able to know how to continue to live with them. Or maybe they have a wound that's freshly open. What's a word that you can give them, and why do you choose that word to help encourage them along the way?
The word I would choose is hope.
Mm.
You have to hold on to that to see the end.
Mm.
Regardless of what the end is, we have to keep looking that way towards the end, and hope holds us up.
Wow, that's beautiful. Thank you so much for doing this. And before I end, I want to share something with you. And what the whole time I'm listening to you speak, I thought of two words. I thought of very graceful, well, three, vulnerable. And then I thought of meekness. Now, a lot of people think meek is weak, and it's not. But
Right.
I see that in you with the way that you carry yourself. Definitely see the strength of God in you as a strong man of God. 100%. But also your quietness, it's not, some people think, oh, they're quiet, they, you can push over, they're meek, they're weak. No, that's a lot of strength that comes with having that demeanor and that personality. And I just see such a, not only a soldier in the army of the United States, but I also see a soldier in the Lord, the way
Yes.
that you have handled yourself with yourself as with God's guidance, and your mother and your wife, and just how you have not abused the grace of God. I mean, we all probably have here and there, but you have
Right.
not ultimately abused the grace of God, and you have extended it to those who are around you. And because of that, it's all upon you. And I just thank you for sharing your story and being vulnerable tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Anytime. Okay. Well, is that all you have? You don't have anything else that you like to share? You good to go?
Yeah, I'm good to go. Like
Okay.
I said, thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah.
Uh, Hopefully, the things I said will have an impact on someone to decide they want to. I don't want to say step up, but have the courage to stand in the midst of the storm, whatever that storm is in their life.
That's right. Thank you. Well, for everyone who's watching or listening, thank you so much for your time. This is another episode of Our Scars Speak. For those of you who have mental and physical scars and you want to share your story, don't hesitate to do so. All of us have a story, but some of us, we're not ready to share it, and we may never share it, and there's nothing wrong with that. But for those of us who know that we're supposed to, I encourage you to do so, because our mental and our physical scars can help heal the wounds of another. So until next time, I see you all later. Love you. Bye.